Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. On this channel we talk about all things fandom and we talk about them in a positive way. If that's something that appeals to you, you have come to the right place, friends, and we are so happy to have you. Now that being said, today is Sunday, and on Sundays we talk about all things sci-fi and fantasy and comic book related. And today we have to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the potential that it may get renewed. We're going to break down what's being said and why this is coming up once again. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so we have to talk a little bit about this possibility that Buffy the Vampire Slayer could be rebooted. Now, Sarah Michelle Gellar has been talking about it a couple times now, and this has sparked some people to believe that it is getting rebooted. Now, whether or not it is another thing entirely. And we'll get into all of that a little bit later. But to understand why so many fans want Buffy the Vampire Slayer back, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's origins, where there was a movie starring Christy Swanson entitled Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This movie became a cult classic, only not so quick because the movie didn't do amazingly well when it was first released. However, it started to gather that cult following. So much so that another movie that had a cult following, Fright Night, got rebooted. When Fright Night got rebooted, it was a reboot starring Colin Farrell as the vampire, and there is one scene in the movie that has always bothered me. This scene in the reboot that has always bothered me because it is a direct ripoff of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. Almost like the person who remade it didn't necessarily understand the source material that he was getting involved with and mistakenly took a scene from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and put it in to the new Fright Night reboot. And that scene involves a vampire who of course gets staked. And as soon as he gets staked, he takes a long time to fall down. He just takes this really long time to fall down, and it's a horrible, horrible scene because of it, because it's not as campy and beautifully done as the scene in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. Now, a little bit later, the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, Joss Whedon, who wasn't really happy with what they did to his movie to begin with, and always saw it maybe more as an ongoing thing, actually decided to make it that ongoing thing. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, actually happened. Now, I could go into a lot more details than what I'm going through, but I'm keeping it kind of simple. There is a long, drawn-out history for how Buffy the Vampire Slayer got from point A, being in a movie, to point B, being in a series, and we're not going to get into all of that. The important part to note is that Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, was an instant hit. Or rather, it was a moderate hit. It actually starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, who at the time had just come off being on All My Children, a soap opera, and she was gaining a reputation for being a pretty good actress. So they cast her in the role of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the rest became sort of history. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, introduced a bunch of new characters to the lore and mainly introduced us to what ultimately became known as the Scooby Gang. Now, this is what helped to make it a cult classic, because this series had Angel, and Angel was so popular of a character that he actually got his own spinoff, which is equally, if not better, than the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series ever was, depending upon who you ask. Now, Sarah Michelle Gellar has in recent months started talking a little bit about a revival. She is actually on the revival of the Dexter TV series right now, and maybe that's why she's getting this question by interviewers. Maybe that's all there is to it. Except that there is a little bit more to it than that. But let's take a look at what she had to say first, and then I'll tell you what's been going on. And then we'll break down whether or not this will ever get done, or whether this is just one of those things that fans keep wanting that possibly we're never going to get to see. So we have to look at HelloMagazine.com. Now, you have to know that the series ran from 1997 to 2003, and it followed Buffy from high school to college. Of course, after college, where are you going to go with the series? So there was a brief time after the college years where it sort of was going to drag a little bit. Now, in this new interview, Sarah says that if the show were to return, she thinks a younger actress would take on the role of Buffy. And I actually agree. So when asked how she would approach the character after 2 decades, Sarah said, "It's been 20 years, so I would need a lot of plastic surgery. I don't know if I would approach playing her any differently. Buffy is such a beautiful character that never changes. But I think they would get someone younger if she does come back. If people think I could still save the world and kick butt, I'm okay with that." And sharing her thoughts on what Buffy might be up to now, the Cruel Intentions star revealed, "I think she's living the good life, peaceful life, without having to do all the slaying she used to do. But I'm happy with how we ended things. I loved playing her and felt proud of what she stood for, what she still stands for." Now it goes on to tell us that this isn't the first time that the actress Sarah Michelle Gellar has addressed a reboot in recent months. During an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show in December, the mom of two, who's married to fellow actor Freddie Prinze Jr., who also happens to appear in I Know What You Did Last Summer and is going to be in the upcoming sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, said, "I always used to say no because it's in the bubble and it's so perfect. But I've been watching, and just like that, and seeing Dexter: Original Sin and realizing there are ways to do it. Definitely gets your mind thinking, well, maybe." She added that the reboot wouldn't necessarily have to be limited to a prequel. It could be anything, said the star. "It's a universe. It makes you realize that in this world, we need those heroes. I think more so than ever." Now, currently, she is starring, like I said, on Dexter: Original Sin. And that's great because when speaking about her character, on there, she kind of gives the same thing, saying how much she loves the character. She tends to take on those types of roles of characters that might be a little bit stronger. Now, let's talk a little bit about why this matters, because a lot of people wouldn't even think that this matters. It's just some actress talking, which is possible. That's very possible, except that not too long ago, we actually were getting a series. We were getting a reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we know this because Dolly Parton was going to be the producer. Country star Dolly Parton was going to produce the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, and that was going to be really big news. Now, the thing about this is that in January of 2024, Dolly Parton said the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot was put on pause indefinitely. Here's the thing. This reboot was talked about all the way in 2018 and then put on pause in 2022. In January of 2024 was when Dolly Parton became attached. And in Business Insider in January of 2024, Dolly Parton had said that the reboot was still in works. So it's a little bit crazy that way because this series has been in the works for a long time. It keeps going away, then keeps coming back, and it's just one of those things. But when you have a property as iconic as this, it is completely possible that it is still in the works and it will come back. Now, I personally think that if they do bring Buffy the Vampire Slayer back, it might not be a bad thing. This could be a really good thing to do. And how could they do this exactly? Well, they could do this in a number of ways, but the simplest way of all would be to make Sarah Michelle Gellar play the character of Buffy's mom. I think doing that would be great because she is now the age that the mom was, and it makes it sort of perfect. The idea that she could come in and play the mom to a character that she once played would be something iconic. It would be something fun, and it would be a nod to every single fan out there. And the series, the new series, doesn't have to go down the same way as the old one. In fact, I kind of in a lot of ways wouldn't want it to, because if you're just going to retread the same stories and the same things that happened, then I think you're wasting your time, because that series was almost perfect in its entirety. If you take a look at how Buffy the Vampire Slayer started, with her going to a new school, meeting the Scooby Gang, meeting everybody she met, fighting off evil, saving the world, meeting up with Angel, who ultimately got his own show, who ended up saving the world himself. All of these things sort of became such an iconic state of being that you wouldn't want to just take them and reboot them. You would have to have a story to tell. You would have to have a new story to tell, a new way to do it. And I think they could do it that way. I think it doesn't necessarily have to follow the guidelines of the last Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think that it's a character that's iconic that could in fact change with the times. You could get an updated Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the California school system she was in before, new vampires in Sunnydale, all of that, and it would be just fine. It would be something that I think a lot of fans would enjoy. Now, that being said, you would need that young actress who's probably an unknown cast in the role. I do like the fact that they had the Scooby Gang, and I think they would probably try to redo that part, and that would be fine too. That part was very iconic and probably deserves another chance. Not to mention, some of the characters would probably make comebacks with new actors playing them, and that would be fine too. All of that is great, just don't try to rinse and repeat every single moment of the series, or it's probably not going to resonate with fans of the old series. But if you give people something new, then there's always that something new. And whether they like the something new or not, they know that they can always go back to the original and rewatch it, which I have done several times over with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series and the Angel series as well. Now, that being said, that is where I am going to leave you for now. I just wanted to bring this news to you because I keep hearing about this revival, especially in the past couple of months. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about all of this. Are you thinking that this could happen? What are your thoughts on this? Would you be up to seeing a brand new Buffy the Vampire TV series? Or do you think that they should leave well enough alone? As always, we want to know what you guys think. So make sure you are leaving us that comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of this crazy conversation. And then make sure you hit that like button. It's free, it helps the channel, and we really do appreciate it. And then Miko says we need more subscribers. And look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.